Have you ever wondered who's who between the Houthis, Hezbollah, and Hamas?
These are the puppets setting the stage for the Middle East conflict.
But who is the puppet master? All this and more on the Jewish Road podcast.
Every tribe, every tongue, Emmanuel, your king shall come. End of sorrows, end of pain. Come and praise Creator's name.
Hey, well, welcome to the Jewish Road podcast. Shalom, shalom. My name's Matt Davis.
Shalom, and I'm Ron Davis.
Here we go. We want to unpack something for you here today, because if you're listening to the news, not sure if you heard about this, but the Middle East is a bit of a hotbed for this geopolitical upheaval that's going on.
Who hasn't heard of it?
Who hasn't? I don't know. But what we want to do is, you have all of these like countries, but not only are there countries, there are all of these terrorist groups that are operating in the countries. Sometimes they are running the country, sometimes they're not. And I just started realizing, like, if you're an outsider not looking at this all the time, it starts to get confusing. You have the Houthis, the Hezbollah, Hamas, but you got Houthis are in Yemen. Where's Yemen? We don't even know where maps are or where anything is. And it just all gets very confusing, right?
Yeah, it is. And if you're not familiar with what's taking place in the world, you're missing a whole thing that's taking place here in the Middle East.
Yeah. And so look at it like a puppet show. Have you ever seen a puppet show?
I've seen a puppet show.
Yeah. I mean, I think the last one probably...
I grew up with Howdy Doody.
I'm not even sure what that means, but we'll have to look that up later.
Okay.
Was he a puppet?
Yeah.
Howdy Doody?
Buffalo Bob. It's Howdy Doody time.
This is taking a turn I was not expecting, but I'm glad you're enjoying yourself. Here's how I was thinking about it, is this idea of the stage is set and you have a puppet show and you're fixated on what's happening there on the stage. But if you're kind of smart, kids are looking at the stage and they're seeing the puppets, but you don't really know.
Somebody's pulling the strings.
There you go. Somebody's pulling the strings. And so the question becomes, who's the puppet master? And really what's going on in the Middle East is it's a puppet show of dramatic and horrible proportions. It's not fun or anything. But if you look at it like this and you start to unwind the pages here, you start to look into this a little bit more and you start to understand, oh man, these people who are presenting themselves, it's not just them, but there's actually like something going on behind the curtain. And this great puppet master is
Iran.
So we're working our way there, and that's where we want to go. And really, if there is a villain in the mind of Iran, it would certainly be Israel. And to give away a little bit of the end of the story, it's also you, America. But we wanted to just open up some of this so that we could have a little bit better understanding. This will not be a deep dive, but a little deeper than probably what you normally would hear.
Yeah. And there is, if we're talking about puppets, there is a trio of organizations that have become maybe not household names. Enter the Houthis and Hamas and Hezbollah.
Yeah. And so as we're talking about this, we're more than 400 days out since October 7th. There are still 101 hostages that are being held in tunnels underneath the city of Gaza. And, one of the things that we said, and you can really get the deep dive on all this, by the way, if you go to thejewishroad.com/puppets. If you go to /puppets, we have really several pages of just kind of content to work through here. But the threads of these puppets, that the strings are really starting to fray.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have said that 6 months ago. It felt like, man, we are in deep trouble. And not that we're out of the woods by any stretch, but these alliances, the play that is taking place right now, you're starting to see, certainly with Hamas, as things in Gaza are slowly coming to a halt, we hope. But the strings are starting to fray a bit.
Yeah, we talked about the puppet master being Iran, and up to this point, previously, they were kind of behind the scenes, and nobody really they didn't get a lot of notoriety as they are today.
Yeah, but something very interesting has taken place within the last 6 to 8 months. is the puppet master has come out from behind the curtain.
Right.
And Iran has made themselves known. And we'll get to that as we talk through. But we're going to basically pull back the curtain on these organizations. We're going to look at their origins. What's their motivation? What are the roles that they play in the region here? And, it's the hard part about talking about the Middle East is the second that you say it, something changes. It's like the weather here in Kentucky.
Yeah. We can only report one day at a time.
That's it. And so that's where we are at today. So let's do this. Let's start with the Houthis. Now, Houthis, don't know if you know this, but it's not a country. It's not the country of Houthis.
No. They are actually in Yemen. And they, up to this point, when you consider Hamas and Hezbollah, they are a group of rebellious upstarts.
That's right.
They're the kids on the block, but not such nice kids.
Yeah. And so they come from mountain regions of northern and western Yemen. And this is a Zaidi Shia group that they really transformed from a local religious movement into a force that has really showed up on the scene. They are, anytime you see these shipping containers, the ships that are trying to pass through into the Red Sea, really the Houthis are there all the time.
Yeah, they're a group. Their name actually is Ansar Allah, which means supporters of God, God small g. But they began in the 1990s as really a theological movement aimed at reviving a part of Islam. But they soon found themselves in the middle of politics, and they have emerged as a terror group coming out of Yemen.
Yeah, about 10 years ago, in 2014, they got control of Yemen's capital, Sana'a, and really the government goes into exile. And now they reign terror all over the place. But the question is, why does this group that's focused on Yemen even have a stake in the conflict in Israel? If you even look at a map, they're pretty far away. It's not a border country to Israel.
No, it's about, what are they, about 1,000 miles apart?
Yeah, it's pretty far away.
Yeah.
But they are anti-Israel. They are anti-Western. And their slogan, they came up with a motto here: God is great, death to the United States, death to Israel, curse the Jews, and victory for Islam. Not really known by their love or good deeds.
Yeah, not good neighbors.
Yeah, and so they have lots of the other players that we know about in the world: North Korea, Libya, Hezbollah, these other groups. There's a lot of alliances, and there's all of these ideological strings that are connecting them to the great puppeteer in Iran.
Yeah, and it really shows us as they have risen so rapidly from really, this small little group that, it's pretty easy to become entangled in this terrorist activities. Yeah.
And so, we want to be able to just point them out. What you're going to see, a lot of times, if you see that the rockets are falling in areas like Eilat. Eilat is that southern tip of Israel. A lot of times that's coming. Those are bombs that are coming from the south down there in Yemen from the Houthis. And, they are constantly involved. This is always high stakes situation. We know friends who are trying to even get shipping containers into Israel to bring supplies, who are now needing to go all the way around Europe just to go in through the Mediterranean Sea rather than to the Red Sea.
Yeah, and so the implications of their presence there is really significant because they're drawing in the major powers in the Middle East to have to deal with them.
That's right. That's the Houthis. Houthis are from Yemen. They are a terrorist organization. And that leads us to the next one. Who do you have up next?
I think we're going to talk about Hezbollah.
All right, let's do Hezbollah. Is there a country called Hezbollah?
Yeah, not yet.
Not yet.
There's they have, for all intents and purposes, they've taken over the government of Lebanon.
Yeah. And so they really operate more in that southern edge. They're at the southern part of Lebanon butts up against the northern part of Israel.
Right.
In fact, what we know is there's about 80 to 100,000 Israelis who live up in that area of Kiryat Shmona, Metula, near Haifa, that have all had to evacuate from northern Israel to go more towards the center because of all of the rockets that are coming over from Lebanon.
Yeah, right. And so that they are a formidable they are a formidable threat. Easy for me to say.
That's right.
They are the most formidable army and terrorist group that Israel has to contend with, more so than the Houthis. And so they are very well equipped. They are given thousands and thousands of rockets that are all pointed at Israel. And where do those come from?
Yeah, those are all coming from the great puppet master over there in Iran. And so it's estimated that they've had somewhere between 140 and 150,000. And these are not just like the little rocket launchers, or you can launch them from your backyard, like we see coming out of Gaza. These are missiles with high capacity. They're able to be targeted more. But the background of Hezbollah, they were started in 1982. And really came as a response to the Israeli invasion in Lebanon. And really, Hezbollah has become this state within a state. And they have a military wing. It outguns the Lebanese army. And the political arm of Hezbollah holds significant sway even in Lebanon's government.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, they have taken over Lebanon's government. The government of Lebanon isn't really exerting any power that they can get around the Hezbollah terrorist organization.
Yeah, now their name translates into Party of God, and it was initially formed with the backing of Iran's Revolutionary Guards. And really, the original goal, their stated goal, is very, very straightforward: expel Israel from Lebanon, and really to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. And they have been a formidable adversary. I got that word out. I was a little scared going into it, but I did get it out there.
Mazel tov.
Yeah. And in 2006 is the Lebanon War. And that was, it came at a great cost to Israeli lives, and Hezbollah lost a lot as well.
Yeah, Hezbollah had one of the most notorious criminals and murderers leading them, and Israel.
For years.
Yeah, for years, 30 years.
Yeah,
responsible for the deaths of so many. Even I think the deaths of Americans that he was responsible for. We're talking about Nasrallah.
Yeah, and
Israel took him out, and. Is it okay to celebrate when something like that happens?
No, I think it depends on who you ask. God is a just God, and He is eliminating evil. Israel has a hit list of leaders that they've been taken out, and when you realize, I've grown up with these are characters. Like you've grown up with people like Billy Joel or Barry Manilow or Frank Sinatra. You have these household names. For most of my life, Hassan Nasrallah, I've seen videos of him my entire life. All of a sudden, in the last couple months, boom, he's gone.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it doesn't give me a lot of pain that happened.
Yeah,
I think if it was King David, he'd be walking around with his head.
Yeah. So, and what we've seen even with Hezbollah, if you've been hearing some of the news, Israel has pulled off such missions. Not only are they throwing out the Iron Dome and combating all of the rockets that are coming through, but if you've heard about the pager incident, the walkie-talkie incident, these movements that have been in place for almost a decade, preemptively, like all that has to come. Like if you haven't heard about this, in 2015, Israel starts up a pager company out of Europe, not having anything associated with as far as connecting the dots to Israel. They make these pagers and lace them basically with explosives that are untraceable. And we're actually just talking to some Israelis this weekend. And one of the things that they said, not only did they have to create a pager company, they had to get as their client terrorists.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so,
it was brilliant.
Yeah. How do you get your salesmen say, all right, here's our target audience, right? We're going to send some Google ads or whatever they did to try to get them. But Hezbollah was a buyer for this company, and Israel has just been sitting on this for a decade, that at a certain point, what I just heard this weekend, which was new for me, was the pager that was the actual page, the message that was sent to all of the operatives in Hezbollah. They had to ditch their phones because they were paranoid that the Israelis might have some access to their phones. So they went old school and went to the pagers, but they sent a message to all of the terrorists. And in order for them to get this was an encrypted message. They designed the pagers in such a way that when they open the encrypted message, they have to use both of their hands.
Right.
Because they have to push two buttons on the opposite side of the pager at the same time. So they do that. And when they do that, it detonates the device and boom, that was unbelievable. So everybody, they've lost their fingers and hands. Some were killed in the process. And then the next day they got them with the walkie-talkies in the same way.
Yeah. It is amazing. And yet they are they've been taken back quite a bit, but they're still a formidable enemy out there that Israel has to deal with
every single day. We see on the red alert. Even today, saw rockets that hit Tel Aviv. There's buildings on fire. Every once in a while, we're hearing something up in the north, up in Haifa. But there is a difference, though, in this, that the people of Lebanon, there's actually a large Christian population up in Lebanon, do not like Hezbollah running the show. Mm-hmm. And so it is important for us to be able to delineate that there is in some of these situations, there is a people who are powerless to the puppets, if that makes sense. That they are, I like how that alliterated, must be from God. Yeah. But the people, if you're a Christian Lebanese person trying to just make life happen up there in Lebanon. In fact, we have friends who are Lebanese that actually moved out of Lebanon when Hezbollah starts to take over, and they come and they're in Israel, and they are living a better life there in Israel than they ever could have in Lebanon.
Oh yeah. I mean, they have education, they have medical care, they have jobs, they love it.
Yeah. Let's go to the next one. The next one is Hamas. Hamas is the next puppet in the Middle East stage play. And you've done a lot of looking into Hamas.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Well, Hamas, it is an organization, a terrorist organization that is located in Gaza. And what's interesting is 2005, Israel actually gave the Gaza Strip to the Palestinians, which were led at the time. Mahmoud Abbas got elected as their president for the first 16-year term. And he actually was taken over then by Hamas, which is the terrorist group. And all of the money and all of the funds and everything that have been funneled in to Gaza to make that entire land profitable and workable for the people, for them to set up a state for themselves. We're talking about the two-state solution here. And they took all of those funds that came from America, came from the United Nations, came from many places, and they used it for weapons. And they put those weapons under hospitals, under schools, in people's homes.
And one thing that's important to know is this is 2005, and it's right. Ariel Sharon who goes here. This is the Gaza Strip. It's a very, very small. This is where everything it's where the attack started in October 7th. But this little strip of land, there were Israelis living there, especially up in the northern part of Gaza. Ariel Sharon, who's the prime minister of Israel in 2005, says, we are going to pull ourselves out. We're not going to have any military. We're not going to have any police force in there. We are going to let them run this place on their own. And the hope is in doing that, you ask, why would they ever do that? They want peace. And so it was actually that there are a lot of peaceniks who are the people who say, we'll give away everything just so we can have peace. We'll give away all the land. We're very happy about it. And there were settlers, there were Israeli families who were there, who were then forcibly taken out and removed by Israelis out of the Strip area there and into Israel proper.
Yeah. And not only that, but Israel left behind all of their hothouses, their farming, everything for the the Gazan people, the Palestinians, to be able to work their own enterprises, and they destroyed them all. They burned down the houses, they burned down the greenhouses, they burned down everything.
They bulldozed stuff.
They bulldozed it. And what's even more amazing to me is that Israel, when they pulled all of their citizens out of the Gaza Strip, they even went in and took out the graves of people who were died and were buried there. They took them out and brought them to Israel because they knew that Hamas would desecrate their bodies.
Yeah. So Hamas came here founded in 1987. And this was during the first Intifada uprising. That Hamas has its roots in the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. And the name of Hamas is actually an acronym, and I'm not going to be very good at saying this, but Harakat al-Mukawamah al-Islamiyah. How about that? Was that pretty good?
That's good enough.
All right. Or in English, the Islamic Resistance Movement. And, they came out and they had a charter that really left little room for interpretation. They called for the destruction of Israel. They wanted the establishment of an Islamic state in historic Palestine. And really over the years, Hamas really evolved from this purely militant organization into a political force as well. And so, yes, after Israel comes out of the area there, a year later in 2006, the Palestinian legislative elections take place and Hamas makes it so that they win. In fact, not only that, the people voted for Hamas.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they got control really of Gaza in 2007. And ever since then, it's been downhill for the Palestinians in that area.
Yeah. All of the people who wanted this two-state solution found out that the two-state solution isn't going to work because Hamas and the terrorists want a one-state solution. And that one state means no Israel, no Jewish people in the land. Yeah. And so, this had been going on with rockets. I remember we were in Israel a few years ago, and we were down by the Dead Sea, and sirens went off.
Yeah, we're in the Dead Sea, literally floating in there.
Yeah, and the sirens went off, and
everyone's looking at us saying, "What do we do?"
What do we do? And we looked at a couple of Israelis there, and they said, don't worry about it. They're too far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, on October 7th, when Hamas breaks through, and they've been planning this, they've been funded by the great puppet master, Iran, really that changes the narrative of everything that went on there. And it's been destruction ever since. Now, the leader of Hamas was Yahya Sinwar, and just like Nasrallah, incredible backstory. He's gone. He was taken out by a bunch of rookies, by the way, almost on accident.
Yeah.
That were there, but he was hiding like a rat in the tunnels there, just going through there. But he was knocked out. But the interesting part is, I don't think everybody knows this, but he was actually in prison in Israel.
Yeah. Not only that, but he had a neurological problem where Israeli doctors did brain surgery on him and saved his life.
Yeah. Saved his life. And then he got released in a prisoner swap.
Yeah.
He came out. It's one of those where we get one Israeli for like 1,000 Palestinian prisoners. He gets out, and he'd been planning his revenge for years and finally got to take that out. It's interesting also, there's other Hamas leadership, and really those guys are living the good life. They're not living in Gaza. They are in Qatar, or actually until lately.
They just left Qatar.
I saw that. I saw what you're doing there. Why would that be interesting that they would leave Qatar? They go to Turkey. Do you know what's going on there?
Yeah. Erdogan, the
Prime Minister
of Turkey, he has really turned against Israel, which has all kinds of overtones to it because Turkey is a NATO nation.
Yeah.
And so it's creating a lot of havoc, especially if we're looking down the barrel of a war. And something like that happens, the NATO nations are going to have to respond to that, including the United States.
Well, the big thing, though, is if Israel goes after Hamas leadership while they are there in Turkey, then the question becomes, well, what do all the other NATO nations do about that, right? Yeah. You have the Hamas leadership. Israel goes in like they have been, takes them out, takes out any one of these leaders. Now, does the United States have to respond because there is a NATO nation that had an attack that's coming from Israel? It's an interesting move, and I don't know what will happen. I don't know what's behind it, but it's not good.
Well, things are getting so heated up, and just a ball of a mess in there because the latest thing in the last couple of days, it's all over the news, is what President Biden did in terms of giving long-range missiles to Ukraine to aim at Russia.
Did you see this? That even this morning, Ukraine has fired those U.S.-made missiles into Russia.
Yeah,
that happened this morning. So we don't even know what's going to happen.
We don't know what's going to happen. But Putin has been indicating that if that happens, he is justified in responding to the United States because the United States provided those weapons to go into his country.
And as a result, even today, Putin has lowered the threshold of what nuclear response could look like.
Right.
So what a mess.
Man.
The whole thing is a mess.
Yeah.
But let's not get into Russia because that's adding another puppet.
That's the whole thing. But another thing that's interesting about Hamas, when they attacked on October 7th last year.
Right.
Right. And we were talking to our Israeli friend who we were with this weekend.
Yeah. Moshe.
And, one of the things that I thought was interesting, and I wanted to get his take on it, was that when Hamas attacked, it was supposed to be an attack coming from Hamas, coming from Gaza in the south, and Hezbollah in the north.
Yeah.
And Hamas jumped the gun.
Yeah.
They attacked by themselves, and Hezbollah wasn't a part of that. They missed their cue card someplace. And so it was just an attack by Hamas. And then the next day, obviously, Hezbollah joined in, as well as all of the so-called quote-unquote students on the college campuses across America and the world with their signs already made supporting the Palestinians.
Well, and even recently, they found the IDF has discovered up in the north in Hezbollah territory in Lebanon. They're tunnels. There's tunnels all over Lebanon, just like there is in Gaza. But they said that they were probably about a month away of completing some of those tunnels that would actually get them into Israel proper from Lebanon. And so some have guessed or hypothesized that perhaps one more month was needed, and then Hezbollah could have joined. And we were talking to our friend Sasha even just this weekend, and she said, if that were the case, and if that's what would have happened, that she would not, because she's so close to that northern border up there. She said, I wouldn't be alive today.
Yeah.
So it brings it home. It's interesting.
Yeah. So this is what Israel is facing.
Yeah.
They are facing attacks from everywhere, from up north in Lebanon, down south in Gaza, from far south, the Houthis, and now the puppet master has come out from behind the curtain.
That's right. So if the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah are the lead actors in this theopolitical drama, I know you like that. I just say it just to get a rise out of you.
That's a great term.
Then Iran really is the director that's pulling the strings from behind the scenes. And, the Islamic Republic has long positioned itself as the leader of this axis of resistance. And not only are they against Israel and Western influence in the Middle East, but they are doing so with unwavering commitment.
Yeah, they are. They are after Israel now, and it's out in the open. Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah. I mean, they basically dropped the fig leaf and they said, "Here we are." And so not only was there an attack of hundreds of ballistic missiles from Iran themselves, but and that was in April. But even just recently, there was another 180 that came, and a miracle of miracles that it did little to no damage whatsoever.
Yeah. That's amazing. In fact, there are a number of the IDF soldiers that we've heard from that say this is biblical.
Yeah.
That was their assessment of it. This is biblical. This is God protecting. And, I would say he's protecting once again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Iran is the one who has been providing weapons. They've been providing the weapons. They've been providing the training, the financial assistance, and they are, like the Goliath that is going after little Israel. And yet Israel, they're getting some support from the United States, from Jordan, from other countries, which is great. But the hand of God is really what's protecting them. And, I've been reading through the book of Ezekiel right now. And so many times in Ezekiel and also in Jeremiah, God is the one who intervenes in these scenarios, these situations, and delivers Israel.
Yeah. Well, and if it weren't for backing from United States and other regional allies, we have this technology of the Iron Dome, the Arrow system, David's sling. If Israel didn't have these defense systems that are literally, imagine this, like picking out rockets from the sky. They know the trajectory of these rockets coming in, whether that's from Gaza, whether that's from Lebanon, whether that's from Iraq or Iran or even Syria. They know where the rocket will fall, and based on the population, if it's going to just hit the desert or something like that, they'll let it go. But if they didn't launch these counter assault missiles to knock out the missiles that are coming to hit them, we would have far more casualties in Israel. And if that were the case, then we would already be facing a much, much broader conflict because there would be loss of life. That is the only thing that is keeping the Israelis safe.
Yeah, it is. And so, the question comes up, why does Iran, who's a country that doesn't even share a border with Israel, they're also 1,000 miles away.
Yeah.
Why are they so invested in this conflict? And another thing that I think folks should realize is there are two different sects, I would say, of Muslims. There's Sunni and Shiite Muslims.
Shia, yeah.
Yeah. And you have one sect, which is Hamas, and then Iran is different. You have the Sunni and the Shia Muslims, and under any other circumstances, they wouldn't get along with each other. They'd kill each other.
Yeah.
But they're united here for one purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Destruction of Israel. So that really is the puppet master. And what we have left is Israel right in the middle of all of it. We've talked about it. The population of Israel, the Jewish people in the entire world are a fraction of 1%. The land of Israel is a fraction of 1% of all the land, even in the Middle East, not even the world. It's even less when it comes to that. And ever since its establishment in 1948, Israel has faced this challenge, the reality of being surrounded by neighbors who hate them, who not only have to put up with them, but want to destroy them altogether.
Yeah. And I think that we're reading a book right now by David Friedman called One Jewish State.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, he makes a great point in that, if you have one Jewish state, it will benefit the entire region there economically, educationally, and they have such a problem establishing that. And that's because they have such enemies that really want to destroy them. Why is that?
Well, I would say that if we actually take a step back, not only is Iran the puppet master, but there's actually Iran is the puppet for another even more powerful puppet master, and that would be the enemy of Israel, Satan himself.
Yeah. And that's what we're seeing. That you referred to it as a theopolitical enemy that's out there. We tend to hear the news and everybody talks about geopolitics, but there is the issue of theopolitics. We got that from our friend, Dr. Jeff Myers. But it's true that, every time you turn around, that enemy, Satan, wants to destroy Israel because he knows his time is getting short, and he knows that the Lord is going to come back And he is working as fast and furiously as he can to eliminate Israel, to eliminate the Jewish people, because if he eliminates them, then the Lord has nobody to come back to fulfill his covenant promises to.
Yeah. So as you look at the battle and everything that's going on, just realize that when we have Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah, these are not isolated actors. They are just puppets in a larger narrative with Iran pulling the strings behind the curtain. And behind Iran is another string puller that would be the enemy of God. And as long as God has chosen the Jewish people and they are still the chosen people of God, then they will always have an enemy from the enemy. And it's important for us to be looking at what's going on as you look at this cycle of violence that is always part of this narrative in the Middle East. It can feel like a never-ending loop of there's retaliation, there's retribution. Who started? I'm always amazed at, well, you did this, now we're going to get you, and now we're just waiting for the next response. And I hate the back and forth. I hate the war. I hate all of this and what it does to people on both sides. It really just tears apart the world. What a horrible thing to you get 80 years, 90 years here on this earth, and to have to spend it watching people try to kill each other is unbelievable.
Yeah. And what we really need to do is look beyond that, because the Prince of Peace is going to be coming, and he's going to be taking care of all of that business. Isaiah told us in the second chapter of Isaiah, said he shall judge between the nations and shall decide disputes for many peoples, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore.
That's right. It doesn't come, that peace doesn't come because of the next American administration, or even if we get it for a glimpse, we are only getting it for a glimpse. We know the end of the story. And really the ultimate one who will bring ultimate peace would be Yeshua, Sar Shalom.
Yeah. And during the time of that glimpse, we have a responsibility, I think, if we have that little reprieve there, to wake up, the church, everybody, and get this message out, to be standing with Israel, standing with the Jewish people, standing with God against the enemies of God.
That's right. Yeah. So I think that's a quick, or as quick as we could possibly do it. If you want to know more, if you want to see a little bit more than what we've said on here, we have a free download. It's a PDF document. You can get that by going to thejewishroad.com/puppets. And continue to watch, continue to pray. Like we always say, Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim.
Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. They will prosper that love thee.
Shalom.